Hi, welcome back to Informatica Cloud Training. Today, we are going to compare the architectures between IICS with Powercenter as well as the developer tool. So let's begin. First of all, let us see the architecture of Informatica Powercenter. When you install Informatica Powercenter, we have two things to take care. One is installing Informatica Powercenter server, and second is installing Informatica Powercenter client. So when you install Informatica Powercenter, the first thing that you need to do is you have to identify the domain as well as you have to identify the domain database. So the domain database is basically a relational database that is used for storing the metadata information about your Powercenter repository service, Powercenter integration service, model repository service, data integration service, and the details of your users, the privileges, permissions, and if you are creating a user in native mode, the details of the users like your username and password, right? So whatever you are going to create using your admin console will be stored in the domain repository or the domain database, right? Now we have for Powercenter, we have to install the Powercenter thick client, which involves your repository manager, mapping designer, workflow manager, and workflow monitor. Now, whatever the metadata that you create using your Powercenter client, like your mappings, workflows, or sessions, will be stored in your Powercenter repository database using your Powercenter repository service. And when you run your workflow, the Powercenter integration service comes into picture, which takes the metadata from the Powercenter repository database using your Powercenter repository service and then connects with your source, perform all the transformations, and load the data into the target. So that is about the Powercenter architecture. Similarly, we have your developer tool, which is basically used for your IDQ, where you can perform transformations like your standardizer transformation or your matching transformation, all those things, which again has two components. One is your model repository service. So all the mappings or applications that you create in your developer tool, which is again your client, will be stored on your model repository database using the model repository service. And when you run your profile or when you run your mapping, the data integration service comes into picture, which communicates with the model repository service to get the metadata, connect to the source, and run the mappings and populate to the target. One more extension of the developer tool is I can push down the mappings to the Hadoop environment. So assume that you are running your mappings in your Spark engine, then what Informatica does or what the data integration service does is it will convert the whole mapping into a set of Scala code, and then it will be populating the jars and send those jars to the Hadoop cluster, to the resource manager. So the mapping will be running on your Hadoop environment similar to all the other applications like your Kafka or other Spark or any other Java code. So this is about the architecture of your Powercenter as well as the developer tool. So what we basically need is we need, say, 3 databases. I need a domain database to store my user information, all the service information. Then if you're using Powercenter, then I need a Powercenter repository database, which is also again a relational database, which is used to store your mappings, metadata. Or I need to have access to my model repository database, which is again a relational database for storing your mappings metadata if you're using a developer tool. The advantage of using IICS is I don't need any client here. So I can use my Informatica IICS, create my mappings. All the mappings will be stored, the metadata of all the mappings will be stored in my Informatica cloud repository. So you don't have to worry about installing any clients on your machine. So what you just need is you just need an internet access, and then you should create an account in IICS, and depending on the type of license you have, you will be able to get access to different tools like your data integration or data quality or MDM, whatever it is. And you can just create your mappings, and the mappings will be stored on your Informatica Cloud repository. In case of data integration, what additionally Informatica does is you need to install Informatica Cloud Secure Agent on your on-prem machine, which is either Windows or Linux. And when you run your mapping, the data integration service communicates with the Informatica Cloud repository, get the required mapping metadata, and then connects to the source, runs a mapping, and then populates into the target. So one thing that you can note is that since the Cloud Secure Agent is installed on your Windows or Linux machine, it is your data is protected. Your data is not exposed to the cloud. Only you are exposing your mapping metadata into the cloud. Also, the connection information is in encrypted format, which means that your data is always secure. Now, let us see some of the advantages of using Informatica IICS when compared to Informatica Powercenter or Informatica Developer Tool. So the first one is, as I just mentioned, there is no need to install the clients. The repository is accessible through the internet. So you just go log into your IICS account, click on data integration service, and then you will be able to create your mappings. Second is there is no need for upgrade. So assume that we have an Oracle 8, and then Oracle has released a new version of Oracle 9. In order to get the database drivers from Informatica, you have to upgrade your Informatica Powercenter license from 8 to 9, which supports Oracle 9. Such situation is not there in Informatica Cloud environment. So your Cloud Secure Agent is a self-upgrading program. So whenever a new version of Oracle or whenever a new version of Postgres arrives, Informatica automatically upgrades the database drivers so that you don't have to worry about any upgrade. So there is no headache of upgrade. The Cloud Secure Agent will upgrade itself so that it can communicate with the latest Postgres or Oracle database. Third advantages, you have a single interface. This we also have seen in the previous video, that you will be able to run your data integration mappings or data quality mappings or MDM or streaming data using a single interface. So now the question comes, do I need to always install my secure agent in Windows or Linux environment? The answer is no. Informatica gives you the flexibility in choosing the agents. So if you have an option, so if you have a requirement to connect to your on-prem databases or your file systems, then the only option is Cloud Secure Agent. So you have to go and install your Cloud Secure Agent on a Windows or Linux machine and provide necessary firewall access to your Oracle database or file servers. So Informatica Cloud Secure Agent will be able to connect to your on-prem machines. But assume that I have my source as well as the target in your cloud environment, then I don't need my Cloud Secure Agent. I can use my Informatica hosted agent, cloud hosted agent, which is on a public cloud, and then you will be able to take the data from your source and put to the target. But please make sure that your source as well as your target is on the cloud environment. If it is on the on-prem, this particular feature you will not be able to use. And there is also a limitation of the number of records that you are going to process using the public cloud. So if you have large amount of data to be processed, and assume that you have to run your mappings in Spark in cloud, then Informatica also gives you an option of Informatica serverless compute, which is basically a private cloud option where it supports large cloud-to-cloud integration. So I will be able to run my Spark mappings in the cloud environment using my Informatica serverless compute. So here you have an option of elastic mapping. So today, assume that you have 100,000 records to process, and tomorrow, if it just goes to say 100 million records, then automatically I will be able to do an auto scaling option. Since if you have enabled auto scaling in your Amazon or Azure, then you can automatically the clusters will be added to the particular mapping, so that you will be able to process that huge amount of records. So the scale in and scale out is easy when you're using serverless compute. So that's it for today. I hope you like the video. So if you have liked the video, please put a like. If you want to comment, you can just comment. And as usual, if you want to subscribe, please subscribe to the video. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.